What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 36 of Trail Tales. My name is Kyle O'Grady. I am a thru-hiker. I am a peak bagger. I love to hike. If you are any of those things or you love to hike as well, I encourage you to subscribe to the show. Check us out on Instagram. Every single week, I chat with another thru-hiker or another peak bagger or another person that's as into hiking as I am, and we have a lot of fun here. If you are a regular listener, welcome back. This week's guest is a man named Nick Scaramuzzo. He's done a bunch of hiking in the Catskills, so we talk about this Catskills 3,500 footer club thing. We also talk a little bit about bear canisters and some of the regulations in the Adirondacks. That was not planned, it just kind of came up, and I thought it was pretty cool. And then we also spent some time talking about the John Muir Trail, because Nick is heading out to hike that in just a couple weeks. And we talk about some of his preparation for that, and specifically the permit system, the crazy permit system that hikers have to navigate in order to go hike the JMT. I had a lot of fun with this one. I feel like it was pretty good because we kind of got a little bit of stuff for everybody. You know, we got the East Coast hikers with the Catskills and Adirondack talk. We got the West Coast hikers with the JMT talk, so I had a great time with this one. Nick, when you hear this, dude, thank you so much. Let's have another episode when you get back from your thru hike. I really appreciate it. Don't hit that skip button. I know that's what you're about to do. You heard what we're going to talk about during the episode, and now you skip the rest of the introduction so you can actually get to the conversation. Like, I get that, but hold up for just a second. I gotta say a couple things here, and then we'll get into it, I promise. The first thing and most important thing that I want to say in this entire introduction is that I would really appreciate it if you guys would head over to 46climbs.com and support the Trail Tales team there to raise money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The way this works is you're going to keep a day free during the week of August 30th through September 8th, 2019. You're going to pick a mountain, could be any mountain you want to pick. You're going to sign up on 46climbs.com once again to hike that mountain. You're going to register, you're going to get a t-shirt and some other goodies, and you're going to sign up under the Trail Tales team. Now, I hate to say this, guys, but I know that pretty much all of us have been affected by suicide in some sort of way. So this is a great way to take something so negative and so tragic and turn it into something positive. Once again, 46climbs.com. All the money that is raised goes towards the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. You're going to go up to the top bar on the website, the top banner there, click donate, and you're going to be able to select a team. I will also have a link to the Trail Tales donation page in the show notes. I would really appreciate it if you guys went and checked this out. I didn't have anybody donate last week, which, you know, I know, like, I can't just expect people to give, you know, money away. Like, that's fine. But I was really kind of hoping that I would have some more people doing this. So please go do that and check out episode number 15 of Trail Tales if you want more information. Colby Ziemendorf is the co-founder of 46 Climbs. He's a good friend of mine, and I had him on the show back then. He's going to be on again soon as well to talk more about this. So please go check it out, guys. I really would appreciate it. iTunes reviews. Let's do some iTunes reviews, people. You guys know that I love to read my iTunes reviews. I'd like some more, too. I got a couple the last few weeks, which I'm very thankful for, but let's keep them coming. I love reading these during the introduction. So I got one that says, such a good podcast. Want to feel like you're in the woods, hiking/living the good life while you're on your way to work? This awesome podcast will do that for you. That is a great review. That is just, wow. I have goosebumps, people. That's awesome. This next one says, keep on keeping on. Kyle, thank you for all your hard work producing the podcast. As a section hiker, I can't get on the trail as much as I'd like, but your podcast keeps me motivated on my commute and throughout the workday. Yeah, keep them coming, please. Yeah, I guess a lot of people listen to this podcast at work. Guys, thank you so much for the reviews. Like I said, leaving the iTunes reviews is a great way to help the show grow. And speaking of ways to help the show grow, because I know that's just the top thing on everybody's mind right now, is how can we take this small podcast and make it bigger? Just kidding. I'm probably the only person that has that on their mind. But no, sharing on social media is another great way to do that. Go follow Trail Tales on Instagram and go like Trail Tales on Facebook. If you like a particular episode, go share it on your story. Tell some friends, tell some family members, do what you got to do. If there's ever any forums on like Facebook or Reddit, I know a lot of you people probably lurk on Reddit just like I do. You know, if anybody's ever asking about like podcast suggestions, especially hiking ones, definitely throw Trail Tales in there. I'm always like searching the forums for that kind of stuff, and a couple people have recommended it, and I really love to see that stuff. So please get the show out there. If you enjoy it, that would be awesome. Also, email is a thing, trailtalespod@gmail.com. I only got one email last week. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful for that one email. I mean, I went like the first like whole month and a half without getting any emails at all, so like very thankful for that email, but I feel like I usually get a couple more, and the downloads have been pretty good since last week. So yeah, send me an email. It's hard to get advice and suggestions on how to improve the show with a podcast because there's no comment section, there's no like button, no dislike button, none of that stuff. So please send me some feedback and guest recommendations, trail recommendations as well, trailtalespod@gmail.com. You guys know the drill there. The last thing I want to say before we get into this episode is I was actually a guest on another podcast last week, or the interview wasn't last week, it was actually like a month and a half ago, but the episode was released last week is what I'm trying to say there. The Hiking Thru podcast, I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably heard of that before. It's another like up-and-coming hiking podcast, kind of like this one. Very, very similar. You guys should definitely go check out my episode on there. If you go to hiking-thru.com or just search Hiking Thru on any of the podcast apps or whatever, you should be able to find it. Erin, who's the host, she's awesome. It's a great, great show. You guys should definitely go check that out. I would really, really appreciate that. All right, let's get into the episode. Number 36 with Nick Scaramuzzo, soon to be John Muir Trail class of 2019. All right, here we go. 36, episode number 36 of Trail Tales. Today I'm joined by Nick Scaramuzzo. I nailed it, didn't I?
Nailed it. You got it right on cue.
Nailed it. Some of my previous guests will know I struggle with the last names. Actually, most of my listeners should know that because I've struggled on record as well as off record. So Scaramuzzo. Okay,
just a couple syllables there. You'll be all right.
Exactly. I think I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Some of them are harder than other ones, but yeah, getting it. So yeah, Nick. So first of all, I don't always do this, but if I like screw up, I feel like I need to do this. So I need to give a public and open apology to Nick. We scheduled this episode like almost a month ago now, and I canceled on him or delayed it. I can't even remember why at this point. And then
you were at a wedding the day before, I think, so we know how that goes.
Something like that. And
Some party, yep.
And then yeah, that's what it was. And then we rescheduled, and then I canceled on him again because I was just kind of feeling a little bit burnt out and just I was not in the mood to record, which honestly does not happen very often. I'm not just saying that, but Nick was kind enough to stick with me after 2 bullshit cancellations, and here we are, which is super, super awesome. So Nick, like I know I just apologized off the record before we started recording here, but I felt like I had to get this out there so everybody knows as well. Like I apologize for that, and like thank you so much for taking the time, of course, and just for sticking with me here.
No problem. Like I said, this is probably going to be the most fun that I've had in a long time.
More fun than actually hiking? I don't know about that.
Oh, I don't know about that, but it's up there.
Probably more fun than hiking in the rain, but not as much fun as hiking when the weather's nice.
Yeah, 100%.
Something like that. So yeah, so Nick has done a bunch of kind of like a varied amount of stuff, like mostly Northeast hiking, it sounds like, but he's also going to be heading out to the John Muir Trail very soon, and we're going to talk kind of about some of his preparation with that, and we're going to talk about the crazy permit system that is involved with hiking the JMT, which I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know anything about the JMT or let alone the permit system. So Yeah, we're going to learn about that. And we're going to talk about the Catskills quite a bit as well. I was just down in the Catskills for the first time. I guess it was like 3 weekends ago, something like that. And it was pretty cool. So I wasn't there that much, but yeah, we're going to talk about that as well. But to start, Nick, I got to ask, a lot of the time when I have like through hikers on, I'll ask about, how'd you learn about through hiking? I know that doesn't directly apply to you. So why don't we just start with, how did you first, get into hiking, I guess, in this whole peak bagging thing?
Yeah, so I live in New York, and I live about 5 minutes away from the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, really?
And if I go out my door, it takes me 7 minutes to hit the RHP shelter.
RHP shelter. I remember the name. I don't remember exactly where it is, but I have Google Maps.
Yeah, it's got the three-sided building in New York, and when you go over the Bear Mountain Bridge, it's like, I don't know, maybe like 50 miles north of the Bear Mountain Bridge.
Okay. What's the town that it's in?
East Fishkill.
Okay.
Yeah, so I live right by the AT. My father hiked a lot when we were younger, so I would go on day hikes with him, and that was kind of like my introduction to just getting outdoors. Mm-hmm. I kind of went away with it in my younger 20s, but I have 3 kids of my own, and when my older kids were younger, this is probably going back like 8 years ago.
Okay.
I just wanted to get out and do some stuff with them. So money's always an issue, and trying to take them to the movies or mini golfing and stuff like that was a little getting too much. So I'm like, let me go check out hiking. I remember hiking as a kid. So I went to Anthony's Nose, which is, if you cross over the Bear Mountain Bridge on the AT, I don't know if you remember that or not, but there was a big rock face in front of you coming over the Bear Mountain Bridge.
Yep.
That's called Anthony's Nose. It's a blue trail off the AT, but it's got a really scenic overlook of the whole area.
Okay, yeah. I remember the climb out of there for sure.
Yeah. So I went up there on just a day hiking trip, and from that point I was just sold. I was hooked. It's like roughly a mile to get from the road up to the summit or to the top of the peak. So I took the kids up there the next week. We had a great time. We ended up spending like the whole day together between having lunch and hanging out up top. And from that point, I just started doing more day hiking on my own. And then that led into backpacking, because I wanted to get a little bit deeper and see a couple of different things by not having to go in and out so quick. And, this is now here are today.
Cool. So I actually just Googled the RPH shelter, and I do remember the shelter now because I stayed at it. It's like right by a road. I remember that. And isn't this one you might not know this if you didn't like ever stay there, but I'm pretty sure you can order like Chinese food or like 100%. Pizza to the shelter, and there was like menus and like I remember sitting there and I had like a very long like mental struggle trying to decide whether or not I was going to order food or I was just going to save a couple bucks and eat my north sides. I ended up eating my north sides mostly because I couldn't convince anybody else to order food with me, but all it would have taken was one person and I would have been mowing down on some Chinese food there for sure.
Yeah, they have I think they have menus and stuff like that. I've never stayed there because it's so close, but 100% you can order food like 5 minutes away from there.
Little pro tip for all you thru hikers that might be getting close to New York. So that was a cool little place. I do remember that now. And then, like I said, I do remember that little, I don't remember, what was the name of the knob you just said there a second ago?
Anthony's Nose.
Oh, Nose, okay. Anthony's Nose. Obviously, like you said, it was a side trail, but I do kind of remember the climb out of there, like after you cross the bridge, because as I was going up, there was some day hikers, just some girls coming down, and I think they were like pretty oblivious to most of what was going on because they made a comment when we passed them. They were like, "Oh, what are you guys like professional hikers?" And we were like, "I mean, we're not getting paid to be out here, but we have been doing this for a number of months now." And they had no idea what the Appalachian Trail was. They had no idea it went from Georgia. We're like, "Yeah, it goes from like Georgia to Maine." And they're like, "What? Like, what is that?" So that I remember that.
That's what's funny about New York is you get a lot of people from Manhattan coming out for the day and a lot of stuff along the Hudson River. The Metro North line, the train runs up there. Like there's a trailhead called Breakneck Ridge, which is around that area, but there's a actual train stop there on the weekends. So if you try to go in this area on the weekend, there's at least 1 million people there. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I can't remember if I was there on a weekend. The pool and the zoo were pretty mobbed when I was there, but
yeah.
That was, I kind of expected that anyways. It was cool. It was a cool little section. I don't really make it down to that part of New York State very often. So it's kind of interesting that a long distance trail goes like so damn close to like the biggest city in the entire country. Like that kind of, you can literally, the same trail that's in the 100-mile wilderness in the middle of nowhere in Maine also goes within like 30 miles of New York City. That kind of blows my mind a little bit for sure.
Yeah, it is. I think that's one of the draws of it, though, because you get to see so many different aspects of, the trail and the towns and the people. Mm-hmm. If you take advantage of it, if you get off trail, I guess you get to see a little bit of the culture of these different areas.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't really adventure off trail too much there. I went to, I think it was just Harriman, New York, like the actual town of Harriman.
Yeah, that'd be by the side of Bear Mountain, a little bit before you hit Bear Mountain.
Yeah, definitely got a little bit of the New York culture there, like the the pizza place. That I was chatting to one of the guys that worked there, and that was kind of funny. And then our Uber driver was definitely driving like she was from New York City, which I think she said she was. So that was pretty interesting as well. So I don't know. I've never been to New York City before ever, so maybe I'll have to make it down there sometime.
Yeah, you got to come down. It's a good time.
For sure. A lot of hikers will stop there too on their thru hikes, but I just didn't have time. Honestly, I don't know if I would have my like Vermont like body and mind would have been able to handle going from like trail to biggest city in the entire country.
Like a culture shock.
For sure. It'd be a culture shock for me anyways, let alone coming right off of the Appalachian Trail. So I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing I didn't go. But.
Well, don't feel bad because you probably smell just like everyone else down there, so you'd be all right.
I'll believe it. I was going to say, I see a lot of pictures like people will post on Instagram, through hikers that will get off the trail and go into New York, and it's like they're just in the middle of Times Square with their pack and everything, and it's like they look a little bit out of place, but they also don't look like super out of place.
Right, yeah.
Like I don't know, I'm not gonna go there too much, but yeah, it's kind of funny.
I know. I've seen it all. I've been around the block down there, so I've seen a little bit of everything.
Oh, I'm sure you have. So you were up here in Vermont though this weekend. How was your hike this weekend?
It was unbelievable. It was awesome. We did Killington. So one of the guys that I work with, I'm a firefighter in Yonkers, which is a city a little bit further north than Manhattan.
Sure.
And a group of us are actually, we can talk about that when we talk about the John Muir Trail, but a group of us are actually going out there. They're meeting me out there. I'm going solo to start, but they're meeting me out there.
Okay.
So we've been wanting to do a bunch of shakedown hikes and get our gear out and, stuff like that. So one of the guys that I work with has been section hiking the long trail for the last couple of years, but he's up to that Killington section. So that's why we decided to tag along. We hopped on the trail about 8 miles or so before Killington, slept out at the Governor Clement shelter.
Yep.
There was a nice area right off the river there that we were able to get 5 or 6 tents up, hang out by the fire.
I literally stayed in that exact freaking spot on my AT thru hike. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we had a nice fire going, sitting by the river. Got up the next day, did Killington in crystal blue skies. Had a beer up top on the summit.
The building there, yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, we had.
Did you have a Vermont beer?
I did on a Long Trail IPA. 100%.
Nice, classic long trail on the long trail.
If you're on the long trail, you gotta have a long trail.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then went out to Route 4, and so this is a funny story too. So we had 3 cars going up, one spotted on Route 4, and the other 2 backtracked so we could get to the trailhead to start.
Sure.
So we're hiking along, and we're about 4 or 5 miles from finishing up the trail. And the guy whose car was on the other side goes, "You're not going to believe this. I left my keys in the other car."
Oh, no.
So we thought he was pulling our chain for a little bit, but then we realized that he was serious. So now we're throwing around ideas on what to do, how we're going to get out of here, this and that. So
could have called me, Jesus.
Well, I know. I'm a New York guy, so Uber is like, the big thing around here. So you dial or you put Uber into your app, and the guy comes in 2 minutes, and you go about your business, right? But there's no Uber services up in Rutland, Vermont. So anyway, I was able to get service, and we called Catamount Taxi. Thank God. There was a lovely young lady that ended up coming out, picking us up, and driving us over to the trailhead.
Nice.
So we got the car. Yeah, it was. But it was funny because we passed. We had a section hiker that he was doing the long trail, but he was like spotting his car for himself.
Yeah.
So he was sitting around too, like, what the heck? Well, how am I going to get out of here? I have no idea how to get out of here. And he ended up catching that Killington shuttle that runs down Route 4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it was funny because we passed him on the way out, and I tried to get a hold of him, but he was oblivious to me in the van.
That's so funny. Like I can just
Yeah.
imagine that heart sink moment where he just like goes to reach for his keys and he's like, oh shit.
Yeah. And he knew whether to not say anything or to tell everyone what was going on.
Did he wait? So did he realize that the keys weren't in there? Like once you guys got to the end, or did he realize before you had gotten there?
No, I think he realized when we were starting to get ready to get out of the woods that something was missing on his, or he remembered leaving them on the car seat of the other car.
So this was at the end of the hike, so that wasn't like hanging over his head for like most of the time.
That was like, yeah, we're tired, or let's get out of here. Like, we still got to figure out how we're getting out of here.
I had a kind of similar thing happen to me, not quite as drastic as that, but I went. This is like years ago. Me and a buddy hiked up Stowe, so Mount Mansfield, I guess. We just hiked up the Stowe ski trails.
Yep.
Like a couple days after they had closed, so there was still enough like snow to ski down if you chose your route wisely. Okay. But there was obviously no one there because it was closed. And when we were at the top, we were just at the top of the ski lift, not the actual top of the mountain. And my friend had taken his keys out and put them on a picnic table up there.
Okay.
And then I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And then we started skiing down, and then right when I got to like the bottom, like I could almost see the parking lot, I just had this thought. I was like, I really hope he grabbed the keys that he put on the picnic table.
Right.
He definitely grabbed them, right? Like there's no way he left them. We get down there, and pretty much immediately he reaches for his pockets, and no keys there. And I was like, brutal. Yep. Keys are at the top of the mountain. We're at the bottom. It's like after dark at this point. And I thought it was hilarious, honestly, because I was like, fuck it. Like, I don't have anything else to do here. But thankfully, his mom drove like 45 minutes and dropped off another pair of keys because I guess we could have gone back up. But like I said, it was dark. And I did not feel like hiking back up that mountain with my skis attached to my back. So. Oh,
I hear you, man. Yeah. At least you were able to get out of there.
We made it out. Kind of going back to that Governor Clement shelter, I think it's called. Yeah. So I had stayed there. I've stayed there twice, actually. And the first two times, so I stayed there twice, and I hiked by it another time as well. And the first two times I was there, I had no idea about that little spot down by the river. So, like, I had stayed, like, more in front of the shelter. I think we're thinking of the same spot because there's a couple
100%, yeah, because
Was it behind the shelter a little bit?
It's off to the right of the shelter.
Yeah,
so if you pass the shelter, it's down. It's pretty much the place where you get water because the river's coming right there.
Yeah, exactly. So I did not realize that spot was there because the first and second time I was there, the first time I just kind of hiked past it because I was still hiking. I didn't stay there. But the second time I stayed like more in front of the shelter, and I actually walked back to that last water crossing on the AT, which is probably only like 0.1 or 0.2 back because there's a couple like rivers that intersect pretty close to there. But I had no idea that little spot was down there. So I was like, when I was going through there on my thru-hike, I'd already hiked through there so much. I was telling all my friends about it. And I was like, oh yeah, we're going to stay at this Governor Clement shelter. And like, there's this nice campsite like in front of the shelter that I stayed at before. We can stay there. And some of my friends got there before I did. And they had already set up camp down in that little spot I didn't know about. So here I am like talking up everything, like saying like, oh, I got the plan, guys. Don't worry about it. And then they go and discover this little hidden gem that I didn't even know about after being there twice. So
yeah, no, it is. It's a great place. Great spot.
Beautiful little spot, people. So if you ever stay at that shelter, walk a little bit past the shelter, and then there's like a little like dirt road almost.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not. It looks like a road. It's not. You don't like follow the road very long. You just take a right, and it's like right there, pretty much down by the water. But
well, too, like it's when you're that's a weird section, or I shouldn't say weird. It's a popular section of trail because you have the long trail, the AT, and then regular day hikers / weekend warriors hitting it up. So that's basically what we were. We were 6 guys with 6 tents trying to get into an area that we figured there'd be a lot of traffic in. But there was maybe like 4 or 5 section hikers either doing the AT, or I'm sorry, not section hikers, through hikers doing the AT or the long trail. And we were able to set up and everyone got along. We all started shooting war stories. So it was actually worked out really, really nice.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a cool spot. Another thing about that shelter is way back, like probably like 5 or 6 years ago now, there used to be some problems at that shelter actually because kind of going back to some of those dirt roads I just mentioned a second ago, I guess there's a gate now, but there used to not be a gate. So I have like a 2012 or 2011 version of the Long Trail Guide, and even I guess back then still, like when that guide was printed, it was still kind of an issue because like in the guidebook it says like just be warned if you stay at the shelter. Like sometimes like they've had some problems with locals like going up there and partying and doing all this, but like I said,
because are they able to drive up, or they're bringing like ATVs up there,
or take your pick there. One of those two, because like it is pretty close to those dirt roads there. But like I said, they have a gate in. I'm like pretty confident about. And I haven't really heard any stories at all about that being a problem, like within the past like 5 years. Like I said, I'm sure that would be all over the Facebook groups if it was. So don't worry about that. If you read that online or on like whiteblaze.net, like from threads like really long ago, people, don't worry about it. It's all good. Governor Clement Shelter, good place for sure.
Yeah, no, it's definitely highly recommended if you wanted to get up for a quick overnight or just a day hike. It was a good area. For
sure. So, why don't we talk about the Catskills a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk about the Catskills. So I feel like the Catskills were the last place, like the last like significant place that, not to like categorize everything else as non-significant, but like the last like big like area of like mountains and a big trail system that I hadn't been to until I guess it was 2 or 3 weekends ago now. But I went down there.
What'd you think? Yeah.
So there's 2 4,000 footers in the Catskills, for those of you who might not know, Hunter and Slide, and I'm trying to do all the 4,000 footers in the Northeast, and I needed those. It's a decent drive down there from up here in Burlington. It was like a 5-hour drive maybe, but like I had to go do the peaks, and I was like, fuck it, I don't mind a long road trip. So I really liked it, honestly. Yeah. I had a blast, and the hiking was great. I only did, just the hikes weren't that aggressive, so I can't really say I like hiked extensively throughout the Catskills. But the campground we stayed at was beautiful. I can't even remember the name. It was like Mog something Pond. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Did you stay like somewhere around Hunter or somewhere around Slide?
So neither, actually. It was a little bit more west of there.
Okay.
I can't remember. It was a DEC campground. I would remember it if I could pronounce it, but as people know, I have a fucking hard time with that.
Right.
it was some weird name, but it was a beautiful campsite. And then honestly, I think my favorite thing about the Catskills overall was the driving. So like here in Vermont and like in the Adirondacks, it's like those windy like trail like roads will usually be dirt and like kind of banged up. So like you can't really like zoom around like too much on them. Yeah. But in the Catskills, it's like even these like super remote like backcountry roads were still all like paved like pretty decently. So I was just like fucking whipping it around there. There's no traffic, and I'm like a safe driver. People like I usually don't like speed too much, but like it was fun. Just like I felt like I was in a race car on a freaking
Well, I know
race
exactly
track.
where you. So if you're going up the Slide, that's Oliveria Road or Route 42.
Yes. And like the cliffs there and stuff. Yeah.
But right before you get to the Slide trailhead, the road takes like a hairpin 90-degree turn to the right.
Yes.
And there's actually, if you ever go back up there, there's Panther Mountain is another 3,500-foot peak in the area, and Giant Ledge is about a mile in, and it's a really sick overlook of the whole range. Mm-hmm. So that gets a lot of tourist, day hiking stuff there. But yeah. Point being, like you said, there's dudes doing, like the slalom track, and they hit that turn, you see them start like leaning over to the right-hand side of the road as they're passing it.
It was pretty gnarly for sure. It was beautiful though. I had amazing weather the whole weekend too, which was awesome.
You told me when I talked to you last time though that you didn't go up the fire tower. It was a little too high for you.
Yeah, so I went about halfway. See, this is the thing. I'm weird with I'm usually pretty good with them, I feel like, with the fire towers. I've been up. Like, probably the sketchiest one is either Glastonbury in Vermont on the Long Trail, or maybe the one on Old Spec on a little bit off the AT in Maine. Right. And, like, I've usually been able to get up them, no problem. But for some reason, this one, like, it was kind of windy, too. That probably didn't help. Like, it was a very, like, well-done tower. Like, it wasn't, like, swaying around. It wasn't, like, rusty like the Glastonbury one is. It was they even have the caretaker up there, like, kind of making sure everything's good. He was doing some work on it, actually. So, like, it was fine. It was just really fucking tall, and I don't know. My friend was definitely not feeling it, and so I was like, all right, I guess I'll just go halfway up. I went far enough to get a view, though.
Yeah, when I went up there, so they have the you can't actually get up to the top. It was locked. So even at that, I was able to get up, and we just kind of hung up there for a couple minutes and took in the views. The weather was nice, and Yeah, check that one off. I think I did that last year sometime. I day hiked the western section of the Devil's Path because that's kind of included in the Devil's Path, but it's not actually on the trail. It's kind of an offshoot of the Devil's Path.
Yeah.
But yeah, so me and a couple friends did the peaks on the Devil's Path on that western section.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, you just brought up the Devil's Path. Why don't we kind of jump into this a little bit? So, I know nothing about this Devil's Path thing. I do know that it's kind of like a staple of the Catskills, it sounds like. It's like the, I don't even know if I guess you could call it a thru-hike of sorts, I guess, or just it's like the most, like, famous trail there, it seems like. I did have one person, like a months ago now, reach out to me on Instagram and say that I should talk about the Devil's Path. So I'm glad I'm finally getting to this. So why don't you just, explain to me and everybody else who's not familiar what exactly this little trail is?
Yeah, so it's roughly like 24 miles long, and it's about 9,000 feet of elevation gain in that mileage. But the thing about the Catskills is you're going to get a lot of steep elevation gain. And that's where, the hiking is pretty hard because you're going, like a triangle. You're going straight up and then straight down and then straight up and then straight down.
Yeah.
So that's why it's got the notoriety and the name of the Devil's Path, because it's just relentless because you're going up and then you got to come. So you're taking a beating on the way up and then you take a beating on the way down.
So it's not like any like big climbs. It's just constant up and downs. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what the starting elevation is at the trailhead, but let's say it's like 1,500, 2,000 feet, you're going up to around, like the 3,800. So you're getting that 2,000 feet up and 2,000 feet down 4 or 5 times. And it's just one peak after the other. It's just you're down with one. I think it's the first peak is Indian Head. So as you're making your way up, then you're going to go back down. And then Twin comes up after that. And then you go up that and you come back down. And then Sugarloaf and then down and then Plateau and then down. So it's like I said, it's beautiful because the views you're taking in from that area are amazing. One of the things about the trail is there's a road that goes through the middle of them. So that's where it has the eastern section and the western section.
Okay.
The eastern section probably has more of the notoriety from that type of elevation gain and loss. And then the trail continues over to the other side of the road and you kind of finish it off over a couple other peaks. Hunter, I would include Hunter in that because it's in that area. It would continue on to Southwest Hunter, which is a little bushwhack trail that's not blazed, but there's a herd path that goes up to the summit. And then Westkill is the last peak in that range. And after you summit Westkill, you end up going out to Spruceton Road as the final
Gotcha.
trailhead.
Gotcha. And I know people definitely do this all at once, but are there also like campsites or shelters, lean-tos along the way?
There are. So when we did it, I day hiked the western section, like I said, last year, and then we did the other section in an overnight. But it was like one of those things when you first start hiking and don't really know what to bring. So you're like, I need 2 pairs of pants and I need 2 shirts and I better bring that and we want to hang out, so we want to have a cocktail too. So you weigh your pack and it's 40 pounds. I think it was 30 something pounds when I ended up.
It sounds like this would not be the kind of terrain.
This is not right. This is not something that you're going out leisurely with your friends, like having a beer at the summit. This is okay, I'm about to do some serious work. But there are a couple campsites along the way, and we ended up sleeping. We did 3 peaks the first day. Slept by the base of Sugarloaf, I think in Mink Hollow. And then went up and did Plateau the last day. Well, Plateau is really nice too because even though it's a steep and steady gain, it's like a 2-mile flat walk along the summit of that's what it's called, Plateau.
Okay.
So you're actually in this nice little pine forest, and you're just kind of enjoying being outside. And then you hit the edge, and on your way back down, you end up doing that steep decline again.
Gotcha.
But it's really, really, really nice area.
Gotcha. Devil's Path. That's such a intimidating name. Yeah.
I know. I recommend it to everyone, especially if you're a pretty avid hiker, because it will test you. Even though the Catskills don't have that notoriety, it'll give you a workout.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like that would be a good way to kind of see a lot of the Catskills just in one weekend or even one hike, depending on how you do it. So that sounds pretty cool.
And you'll get good views too. So that's another draw to it.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds awesome. How many of the 3,500, or if you don't know exactly, that's fine. But roughly how many of the 3,500 footers does Devil's Path go over?
4. Well, yeah, 4, 5, 6. It goes over 6, but if you're going to include Hunter in that, you can get 7.
Okay, so it'd be almost like a good straight line to just grab like a bunch of peaks there too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So so I guess on that note, this Catskills 3,500 footer club thing. So again, I don't really know anything about this besides, Hunter and Slide at this point, but it's similar concept or the same, actually, exact same concept to like the Adirondack 46 right. Or
Are you a 46er?
I have 4 peaks left.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
I'm almost there. I'm going to be hitting one more this weekend as well, so I'm
Which one are you going to do?
I think I'm going to go do tabletop this weekend.
Oh, perfect.
Have you been up there?
I did a loop. I was originally planning with my friend Chris. We were going to do the Great Range Traverse.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you know about that. It's hits a bunch of stuff along the way and going up to Mount Marcy, come back down to Adirondack Lodge. We ended up getting a bad weather report for the amount of time they wanted to do it in, so we just went up and did an overnight.
Oh, okay. You don't want to be up there in bad weather for sure.
Right. So we ended up doing a loop from the Adirondack Lodge. We hit, what did we hit? Gray Peak, Mount Skylight.
Yeah.
Went all the way down to Panther Gorge. I don't know if you've been in that area behind Mount Marcy.
I really haven't, honestly. No. See, Skylight, Gray, and Haystack are the other 3 that I haven't done yet, so.
Right. Okay. So if you want, which I wouldn't recommend, but you could, we decided that, okay, if we go around Mount Marcy, then we did Gray first, then we did Skylight, and then we were confronted with the decision to either go up and do Marcy that day, or we went down because we were going to do Haystack the next day. So I don't know what happens when you plan your trips, when you're looking at it, the contour lines on a topo map. But you're like, whatever, it's not that big a deal. And the drop going down into Panther Gorge, every minute that we started going down and down and down, it's like, I can't believe that we're going down here. It's like insane. So we ended up dropping, I forgot what it was, like 1,500 or 1,800 feet, really quick too. So we slept down there and then woke up and had to make it all back up, and then we still had the elevation to get up to Haystack, so then we did that the next day. Then we went and did Marcy, and we were debating if we had any energy for tabletop and Phelps, which is on the way out on the Van Hoevenberg Trail. But we said, we did a lot. Let's call it a day, and we'll come back and tackle those 2 next time. Yeah,
those 2 are usually done together too, I think. I tagged Phelps in the winter, like a couple of years ago, but I didn't do tabletop for some reason, so yeah, I'm gonna go snag that and then have to clean up the other 3 over there closer to Marcy. But yeah,
yeah, definitely. Like I said, you can I would recommend maybe just going back over Marcy, but actually was the campsite at Panther Gorge was actually really nice because those lean-to shelters and the camping areas are pretty widely used.
Mm-hmm.
So because there's really no easily accessible route to get to Panther Gorge, we had the whole place to ourselves.
Oh, nice.
So even though, like I said, it was a little bit of work to get down there and then back up, we were able to just relax. And I hammock camped, so I set up my hammock. My friend was tenting, so he set his tent up, but we hung out in the lean-to shelter the whole night and just hung out. So it was really, really nice little break.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to do them all on day hikes. Reason being is I have a frameless, pretty small pack, and I hate
the CDT,
bear canisters. Right? Yeah, the CDT. Yeah. I hate bear canisters. I don't own a bear canister, and for those of you listening, they're required in most of the high peaks. I think starting next year they're going to be required in all of the high peaks area.
Yeah.
And so I would rather just do like a really long day and then go stay at a car campground than have to haul that. People are probably like, Kyle, you're such a bitch, boohoo. But
no, dude, I'm with you.
I don't fuck with the bear canisters. Like, no thanks.
Yeah, I'll add a list. So I have a YouTube channel, Triple Nickel Outdoors, for any of those people that want to check out some of my videos.
Which I will have a link to that in the show notes,
perfect.
By the way.
So one trip I did Mount Colden.
Mm-hmm.
Mount Colden down to Avalanche Lake and Lake Colden, and then I went up and did Algonquin, Iroquois, and Wright Peak.
In one
day?
That
was the second. I slept at the bottom by Lake Colden.
Which is an amazing spot.
Oh, and that's another, if anyone gets a chance, check out those peaks. That's amazing.
Go during
amazing
the week,
hike.
But other than that, amazing spot.
Yeah, don't day hike it though. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I had a bear can with me, but a viewer commented on my video and said, hey, have you checked out Ursacks and blah, 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 this and that. And for those who don't know, an Ursack is basically, it's considered a bear-proof container. It's not hard-sided though. It's
like a sack.
Right,
much.
It's like a sack basically, but it's been tested against bear attacks. So I tried to look up the DEC regs on these types of, about the Ursack, and everything came back that it still has to be a hard, rigid container.
Yeah, they're super strict about it. And in fact, they don't even let you bring certain types of bear canisters. Like
right.
the Bear Vault bear canisters, brand.
Yeah, the bears are getting smart there that they know how to open up the BB 500, I think.
Which I think it's bullshit, because I've never seen a fucking bear in the Adirondacks before, but apparently there's a ton of them there.
Well, there must be, yeah, because they're stealing people's bear cans and eating their food.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
So back to this guy, like he said that he knows DEC or law enforcement officers, and I guess if you're practicing safe practices, they kind of like look the other way.
Okay.
But I didn't want to take the chance, so I kept rolling with the bear can. But it's just one of those. So point of the story is I ended up emailing the DEC and saying, I heard that Ursacks might be legal. You've done some testing on them. Are you thinking about changing the law? Blah, 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 this and that. He wrote me back. It was a novel, basically. It's not even just about the bears. It's more for protection from the people that go into these areas, because they don't know how to
properly hang it, yeah.
Properly, right, exactly. All of those things.
Whatever, yeah.
So, it's mice, it's other rodents, it's leaving, food around and stuff like that. So it's just, if you have it in a hard-sided container, kind of forces people to do the right thing, to keep it in there and not have, because mice and other rodents are probably more of a problem than bears are a problem.
Yeah, for sure. And the bear canister thing there is interesting because, honestly, one of the reasons why I am likely going to try to hike the Northfield Placid Trail again this year is because it's on my list. I tried to do it a couple years ago and I failed. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother episode. But I really don't want to have to bring a bear canister for that last part of it. And starting next year, the Western High Peaks, which the Northfield Placid Trail kind of skirts through there, you're going to have a bear canister through that section. So I'm like, shit. I mean, I only have like one more year to do it without the bear can. So granted, you could still do most of the trail without the bear can. It's just that one section, but I don't really want to have to deal with getting a bear can in the middle of a thru hike like that. So I'm honestly considering just like sending it now. But
I hear you. Yeah, well, like I said, I love, and I think that's why the Adirondack, well, not why, but I think that's a reason why maybe the whites have more of a draw than the Adirondacks do, because there's a lot of regulations in that area. But serious beauty, but the regs are just something that I think people, if you're going to go, like for me, I'm going to drive 3.5 or 5 hours to get to either one. Which one do I want to do? So it's like, if I make it up to the whites, I don't have to deal with a lot of the regs. But the Adirondacks, they're just beautiful. They really are.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's tough there because the high peaks have such like a big concentration of use, and then the rest of the Adirondacks hardly get any use. So like if you go out of the high peaks, you don't really have to worry about the regulations as much. There's no bear canister regulations or anything like that. And the other thing is there's just so many people in that one concentrated cluster of mountains. It's like, even the whites, I feel like for some reason, I don't know, there's just not as many problems there either when it comes to I know there's some areas that have parking problems, but overall, I feel like I don't even know if the Adirondacks just get more use or it's just more concentrated in a couple areas. I'm not sure, but there's something funky going on there for sure. I kind of want to tie this back into the Catskills a little bit. Mm-hmm. So one of the questions I had written down here is how do the Catskills, if they can at all, how do they compare to the Adirondacks?
Similar terrain, sort of, not really though. I think that the Catskills, so they're closer to New York City, which would be a draw if you're looking to get out in nature and have some good hiking, have some nice campsites, have, a bunch of nice views. So they definitely have their draw. But I just think that the Adirondacks, for a couple hours north of the Catskills, they get a little bit more notoriety than the Catskills do.
Okay, interesting. And then this 3,500 footer club. So yeah, similar thing to the Adirondack 46. You have this list of mountains that you're trying to complete, and once you tag all the peaks, you're in the club or whatever it is. Yeah. How many peaks are there?
So there's 35, over 35, over 3,500. But to qualify for the club, you have to do those 35 peaks, and then you have to do 4 of the peaks in the wintertime, which would be December 21st to March 31st.
Really? I did not. Okay, I'm glad I asked
Yep.
then. I did not know that. So you can do any of the peaks in the winter?
All right, so the 4 that you have to do for the winter are Blackhead, Slide, Panther, and Balsam.
Okay.
And like I said before, that's December 21st to March 21st is the winter time frame that they have to be done in.
Interesting. So
And,
that
I was reading up on like the Catskill 3,500 Club and how they came about and blah blah blah, and they wanted to include some of these winter peaks to give people a little bit of a taste on what winter hiking was like. So if they wanted to become a member of the 3,500 Club, they would have to fulfill the requirement of these winter peaks.
Right.
So, yeah, like I said, it gave you a reason and the availability to get outside, because the Catskill 3,500 Club organizes trips, so you don't have to do it alone. If you don't feel comfortable, you can get one of these trips with the club. I think everything's on their website of what mountain they're doing per day, so it allows people to get outside and experience nature in some of the colder months and get a little bit of taste of what winter hiking is like.
Yeah, so that's, like I said, that's something I've not heard about before. Can you only hike them once and just have that one winter hike count, or do you have to hike it during the summer as well?
No, I believe I hiked Slide. The first time I hiked Slide was in the winter, but I needed 2 slide ascents for the 3,500 Club.
Okay, so you do have to. Damn.
Right.
Interesting.
But if I did Panther in the winter. I only needed that. No, I needed that twice. Which other one did I do in the winter? I did all of them already. But yeah, so let's just say I did a random peak that wasn't one of the 4 required.
Mm-hmm.
In the wintertime, that would count as my 1 ascent, because I also have a winter 3,500 Club.
Okay, yeah.
So that would be every peak in that winter time frame.
And then you have to hike 4 of them during the summer for the winter one.
Right. Just to get a taste what the bugs are like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, you got to fit bugs in your mouth.
Damn, so that's pretty cool, honestly. I've never, because
It is.
That's different than the Adirondack 46 or the New Hampshire 48. I wonder. Actually, you kind of just answer this. I guess just to give people kind of like a taste of the winter hiking. I can kind of see that. I think that's pretty cool, honestly.
Have you done any winter hiking?
Just a little bit. I've done like a couple of the mountains here, like Mansfield and Camel's Hump, and then I did what was that? Phelps. Yeah, Phelps. I did it in April. I don't know what the actual cutoff is, but in the Adirondacks, April is definitely still winter. And then I did Cabot in the Whites during December, like right before, or actually I don't even know when the winter cutoff is. Again, it might not have been like technically winter season, but
right.
For all intents and purposes, it was definitely fucking winter. So I've done a little bit, but I'm mostly summer. Maybe I need to go do the rest of these Catskills peaks. That'll give me an excuse to get back into the winter stuff.
Well, that's what the Catskills are like. That is definitely a draw to them because, like they said, the mountains aren't extremely high, so you don't feel like you're really exposed. But the weather is still, it's winter weather, but you have to have microspikes or those types of ice axe. You really need an ice axe, but microspikes definitely recommended. And it's just a really, really nice time of year because there's not a lot of people out. The views are really sick, and just being outside and in that environment is just really, really cool. Yeah,
for sure. Is there anything else about the Catskills that I might not have thought of to ask about that we should talk about before we kind of move on to the JMT stuff?
No, I mean the long path runs through there, which is
true, yeah.
That it starts like by New York City and then runs all the way up to around the Albany area. It's roughly like 357 miles, I think.
Yeah.
But that's another scenic trail that if people are out there looking to do some long distance hiking, it's something that's in New York that has a little bit of a draw.
Yeah, I do a lot of episodes where I'll have people on that have hiked like some of the smaller trails besides just the Triple Crown trails pretty much.
Right.
And just kind of basically making an info session and just drill them with all these like random questions about the trail. And the long path is on my list of like smaller trails that I'd like to learn a little bit more about because I've seen like a couple of YouTube videos on it. I've been aware of it for a while, but I don't really have the answers to the specific questions. So that'd be kind of cool to learn about as well.
Yeah, there are, like I said, there's a bunch of really cool campsites. There's a bunch of really nice peaks, really laid back, just kind of atmosphere like that. And that's why I think I enjoy it. Plus, it's closer to my house. It's only about an hour and a half away from where I live to get to most of the stuff in that area.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's pretty cool about the Catskills is it is so close to New York City. It's like most of the time, I guess the Whites, I don't know the exact distance from Boston, but I feel like maybe that's a little bit similar. It's almost like the Boston's, like White Mountains, but it's certainly super accessible, and I feel like that's pretty cool for a lot of these people that have maybe like lived in New York City for their whole life. Especially even the kids. Growing up in the concrete jungle, and then only a couple hours north, you can kind of get up into these like pretty significant mountains, which I think that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, the Hudson Valley in New York is a really, really nice area between, just the Hudson Valley itself. You got the Shawangunk Ridge where there's a bunch of rock climbing stuff going on out there. I don't know if you've ever been down there, but that's just a little bit south of the Catskills.
No, I haven't. Really, the only times I've been to that area of New York was when I was in the Catskills and then when I was on my thru-hike, so.
Yeah. There's like I said, these are little known places around the area that people know to go and check out, but definitely a lot of nice places in New York State.
For sure. Let's talk about the JMT a little bit, shall we?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it. So, I don't know anything about the JMT. Nick, after you finish, I want to have you back on, and we're going to do, like, kind of what I just said a second ago, like a proper, like, entire episode dedicated to the JMT, and I'm going to learn all these things about it. But I know you haven't hiked it yet, so rather than asking you the specifics about, like, all the water sources and the campsites and all this stuff, we're going to kind of stick to some of your, like, preparation. Okay. And we're going to talk about the permit system as well. We're a little bit low on time, but we're going to try to get to all this stuff. So yeah, I guess first of all, though, let's just briefly, for those of you who might not know, just like what is the JMT, the John Muir Trail?
All right, so the John Muir Trail is a hiking trail in the Sierra Nevada mountain range out in California. It starts in Yosemite National Park and then ends at the summit of Mount Whitney, roughly like 211 miles away.
Okay.
So, it's a scenic trail. It's connected. It runs with the Pacific Crest Trail, but it's not the whole thing. There's certain sections of it that are the John Muir Trail specifically, and the Pacific Crest Trail is off of that.
Roughly, can you give me an estimate on like how much is like coinciding with the PCT?
I don't know the exact number on. Again, I guess that's how that
that's
runs.
probably a better question for after you hike it, but
yeah, so Whitney, it does the Pacific Crest Trail doesn't go over Mount Whitney. I think it intersects around the area by Red's Meadow, which would be around 130 miles outside of Yosemite. I'm just spitting figures. I have no idea really how many miles coincide with the Pacific Crest Trail. But they're all High Sierra routes, so you're getting pretty much the same kind of topography when you're out there.
Yeah.
Just different, I guess, just a different route to take.
Sure. So you're leaving soon. When are you? So today is July 10th, 2019. This will be out in a week, but when are you leaving exactly? It's just a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I leave on the 21st.
Nice. So you're almost there. What have you been doing just for like let's say like logistical preparation besides the permit? We're gonna get to that in a second.
Okay. So tomorrow I have to mail my resupply stuff out.
Oh, you have to do boxes? You can't resupply.
You have to do 5, or you have to do a hard-sided 5-gallon container.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What?
All right, let's start from the beginning. So there's the JMT shaped like a question mark. So where I'm starting is at the top part of the question mark.
Okay.
It wraps up, goes down, and then terminates at the summit of Mount Whitney, which is the southern part of the question mark.
Okay.
So along that route, you get resupply points along the way, but none of it, it's not like the AT where they're crossing roads and there's a bunch of intersections. It's like, just like a random outpost at
okay. I see now. So you can't actually, there's no grocery store there.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
So I start in Yosemite, and I don't start in Yosemite Valley. I'm starting at Glacier Point, which is on the outskirts of, it's actually like an hour and something away from Yosemite Valley, but that's my starting trailhead because there's a couple different trailheads that you can start from in there that are related to the permit system.
Yeah.
So that's where I start, and then I make my way north, going towards Tuolumne Meadows, and there's a post office and a cafe and a small grocery store there. But from that point, the trail doesn't intersect with another road pretty much the entire time. And from when I make my way south, around 4 days after that, I'm hitting this one area called Reds Meadow Resort, which you pay them a fee. They get your package from Mammoth Lakes, which is the nearest town, and then they bring in your resupply package so that you have it on the trail. Mm-hmm. Then you make your way further south, and then Muir Trail Ranch is another resupply point. And then I'm making my way actually out to a town around 6 days after that. Independence, California. There's a hotel there. It's called the Mount Williamson Motel. And they have a whole hiker service where they pick up your package. They give you a room. They give you a ride to and from the trailhead. So I'm meeting a couple friends that are actually doing the trail with me, and they're going to come in that day, and we're going to do Whitney together.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Not as straightforward as the AT for the resupply there, for sure.
Right. So I have 21 days of food sitting downstairs, ready to be boxed up.
What a pain in the ass, damn.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, and I'm crazy too. So I got it all labeled, what I'm eating, what day, how many calories, blah blah blah, this and that. So you can, if you're shipping it to like the post office areas, you can ship it in just a regular priority mailbox.
Right.
But Muir Trail Ranch specifically, because how they store it, they don't want rodents or other animals getting into your package. So they want you to ship it in these 5-gallon containers from like Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, one of those stores.
Interesting. So that probably knocks up the shipping price a little bit too.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah. And then, each one of these places charges a little bit of a fee to do the service for you. So that jacks it up a little bit more. But it's worth it because, I'd have to carry 20 days worth of food, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no way. That's interesting.
I think my longest stretch is like roughly 5 days between Muir Trail Ranch and when I go out Kearsarge Pass to Independence.
Nice. Okay, interesting. Let's talk about this permit. So I have a friend who I met on the AT who's actually a guest on the show, episode number 2, like way, way back. I'm pretty sure we recorded that episode way back in October of 2018. And he had been trying to get a permit for this year. I don't know much about this, but the tiny little bit I do know is pretty much just from us texting each other back and forth about it a little bit.
Right.
And I know that he was here, he didn't get it, basically. So why don't you just talk a little bit about, how this permit system works and, what are the actual chances of somebody being able to get a permit? Because I hear some crazy fucking stories about this.
Right. All right. So this is my 5th year trying to get on the trail.
Wow.
And looking back, now that I know how the whole process works, there are ways that I could have gotten it a little bit easier, but just doing random research on the web, trying to say, the John Muir Trail, here's how you apply, blah, blah, blah. It's taken me 5 years. Jesus. I wanted to do it as a purist. I wanted to start in Yosemite. Hopefully, Happy Isles is the actual trailhead that the trail starts at. But there's 5 trailheads that you can leave from in Yosemite National Park if you want to start the trail.
Okay.
So there's 2 that leave from Happy Isles. There's 1 from Glacier Point. There's 1 from Sunrise Lakes and another one from Tuolumne Meadows, Lyle Canyon area. Now, when you apply with the permit, you put those in order of importance on which one you want to start out the most to the one that you want to start out the least. And then, depending on availability, they have a lottery process that they draw numbers from, or your permits from, 6 months out. So back in February, if you want to hike in July, you put your permit in February.
Okay. Wow.
Trailheads, the trailhead you want to do, how many people are in your group, if you want to hike Half Dome, there's a whole bunch of information that they want to have on the permit.
Yeah.
So that's why I said the last 5 years, I had all my trailheads listed, I had how many people are in my group, and there's only a certain amount of time that you can do it, because we could talk about that too. The amount of snow that they got this year is ridiculous. They got 200% of what their average is out there. Oh, wow. It keeps dumping. And that's something that I've been tracking for the last couple months because I'm waiting for the melt to really start kicking in. Because right now it looks like I'm going to be traversing over, I think it's 80 plus miles the last time I saw is snow covered still.
Oh, damn. Even in the middle of July, that's crazy.
It's crazy. Everything 10,000 feet. A bunch of PCT hikers are bypassing the Sierra.
I was going to say, I've been hearing about the PCT hikers getting kind of screwed a little bit too.
Yeah. So, but it's looking at the time that I go, that melt's going to happen. I'll probably have to deal with a little bit of snow going over the mountain passes, but most of the terrain should be clear of snow. So yeah, we got off on a little bit of tangent there. But so basically, like I said, I've been putting in the Yosemite permits because I wanted to leave from Yosemite National Park. And luckily this year, back in February, I was checking my email and I got the email saying your permit's been accepted.
Finally, 5 years later.
You're leaving on this date. So one of the other things, though, you can put how many people you want in your group. So I put 5 people for a maximum, and if there's any spots available, 1 person as a minimum. And there was only 1 spot left, so I got the 1 person going solo. Yep. So that's why. So I'm leaving by myself. But when I mentioned to the other people that I hike with, they're like, "Well, you're not. We want to go out and do it too."
Sorry, guys.
So that's how I started to get led into this whole. Well, how do you get permits if you want to hike the John Muir Trail? What are some other options that you can get permits for? Mm-hmm. So once you cross over the Yosemite Inyo National Forest border, it's no longer subject to the lottery process. They have trailhead quotas to get into the area, to go over Mount Whitney, because that's where you have to terminate on your terminating trailhead. Okay. But if there's if there's an available spot on the trailhead that you want to leave from, you can still come on and hike the trail. You won't be able to hit the whole trail, but you'll be able to see a little bit and experience it. So that's what my friends are doing. I come out on my 7th day. They're going to meet me by this one area called Thousand Island Lakes, which if you ever get the chance, just look up some pictures of this place. It's phenomenal. So they're meeting me out. They're going to do 4 days with me. And then another one of my friends is meeting me a couple days later. He's going to do the last 2 weeks with me.
Damn.
Yeah. And then, like I said, those 2 guys that are coming out to meet us in Independence, there's going to be 4 of us going to tackle Whitney together.
Nice.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. It's really, for the guys, like I said, my job is just phenomenal that these dudes want to come all the way out west and tackle this thing with me. It's really, really really cool.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Do you know roughly how many people get permits every year? Like, how competitive is it? I mean, it's going to be pretty bad. It's really competitive
because I think I read that, like, thousands of people apply and they can only send out 45 a day over Donahue Pass, which is the border between Yosemite National Park and the Inyo National Forest. Okay. So that's where this quota system comes in, where they have trailhead availability, but 45 people a day get to cross over that border.
And that's not just JMT hikers either.
That's anyone, I guess. However,
why is that? Why do they have to cap it?
I don't know. I guess they just don't want the impact on those areas, because it's not just JMT, PCT, Yosemite Park hike. It's just everyone in that area that wants to go out and see these places.
Interesting.
So I guess I don't know why the number 45 or how they ended up making that determination, but.
If anybody knows,
I guess
let me know.
Yeah, I guess they thought it was a good number.
Interesting. Okay, so you're about to leave. What are you just most excited for?
I think just the ruggedness, because I've done most of my hiking in the Northeast, and this is all we know. The rolling hills, mm-hmm. and for me, beautiful landscape and views and stuff. But out there, it's it's going to be like an alien landscape to me. And when I see pictures of it, I can't wrap my head around. I went to Zion last year and did some hiking out there. And even that, it was like I felt like I was on another planet. Just the difference in terrain and everything about it was amazing. So this has a lot of that. And I think that just like a person, so I'm married, I have 3 kids. And I think just the fact that I can't commit to like you said before, one of the Triple Crowns, this is kind of gives me a little bit of a taste what that life is like.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But it's 3 weeks, which is still a long time to be away from my family. But it's enough that I think I can get a little bit of that taste of what that kind of life is like.
For sure. Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to hear about your hike. And like I said a few minutes ago, I'm going to have you back on, and we're going to do a whole episode just on the JMT after you get back. I'm looking forward to that. You haven't even said whether or not you will. Well, actually, now you have. But yeah, I'm signing you up, just so you know. That's pretty crazy. I can't. See, and here I am, like, complaining about having to carry a goddamn bear canister.
Well, that was, believe me, my gear selections and things that I've looked at buying it's all related around that stupid bear canister.
Yeah.
Because your pack size is more, your pack weight is more, like everything is just drastically different than what I'm used to because you have to try and accommodate this stupid cylinder.
Yeah, pretty much. I would have to get a whole new pack if I was going to, honestly, like, in order to fit that.
I did.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yep.
Damn. So we're at about an hour now, Nick. We still got time for a story. It's called Trail Tales after all. I gotta say, people, I once again forgot to remind my guest about this beforehand, but thankfully hikers usually are able to kind of pull some stuff out of their ass when put on the spot here when it comes to stories, definitely. So Nick, let's pick, whatever that go-to story is. Say you're sitting around a campfire and someone asks you what that best hiking story you have is. Let's hear it.
Oh, I wish I had some more good ones, but this one, when I think about it, it still gives me like a little bit of the Jeepers Creepers because I was hiking in the Catskills. I was on a solo trip. So, anytime that you're alone, you kind of like every little bump and, anything you hear just kind of sends you like a little bit crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I was sleeping in my hammock. Like I said before, I hammock camp. And I was out cold. And I got woken up. I can't it was like in my head. There was something like literally, something was basically like running into me. Not running into me, but like it was right next to me.
Yeah. Like
so I got woken up out of a sleep. I just screamed as loud as I could. I felt something scurry away from me. I got out. I threw my headlamp on and I was looking around. And sure enough, around 20 feet away, staring right back at me were just these two little beady eyes focused right on me. So now I'm doing the whole, get out of here. I couldn't tell whether it was a bear, whether it was a cat. It was something. But so now as I started to go right and left, it was tracking me. It was like literally, I was just saw its beady eyes just staring right at me. And this probably what felt like forever, but it's probably only like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Finally ended up scurrying off and I had to clean out my underwear, whatever like that. But it's just so funny how the mind plays tricks on you after that because my heart's pounding. Needless to say, I didn't fall back asleep for a little bit after that. I was
going to say, yeah, good luck going back to sleep after that.
But I think this adds to the level of paranoia that I was feeling. I was looking I could see the outline of the mountain, like the top of the range, and the stars were shining through that area.
Yeah.
And I literally thought that it was like people with headlamps that were coming out in like the middle of the night, like trying to like attack me. I'm like, I don't have anything on me because I was so paranoid about being outside now that all the flickering starlights coming through the trees, I thought they were headlamps trying to attack me. So
just freaking out. Yeah. Was that one of your earlier hikes or was that more recently?
That was a couple years ago. That was, I've done that was probably one of my earlier solo hikes.
Yeah.
But it was just a perfect the perfect recipe for a little bit of a creepy introduction, and then I had to just trying to get back to sleep. But I woke up the next morning and finished and got out. So I'm here to still tell the tale.
You always make it out, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't care what people say. Like solo camping is definitely a little bit sketchy sometimes. It does get less sketchy with like just the more you do it, I guess. But first couple times I did it, I was definitely a little bit, not even paranoid, but just a little bit, a little on edge for sure. It takes a little extra time to fall asleep, so I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that as well.
Yeah, or I'm just a baby. So it's a little bit of both, probably.
No, you're gonna go crush the JMT. It's gonna be good. Nick, that was awesome, dude. Once again, thank you for bearing with me with the scheduling. I told you we were gonna get to it. I'm so glad we did, and we're gonna do another one too. I will not cancel on that one, I promise. Yeah. So I know you mentioned your YouTube channel again. Why don't you give that a plug one more time and plug any other places that people can go and find you on social media?
All right, yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. It's Triple Nickel Outdoors. I have an Instagram page at the same name, Triple Nickel Outdoors. I'm going to be filming my JMT hike and a couple of videos beforehand showing like my resupply, my gear and stuff like that. So if people want to check that out, it's available.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not going to upload the JMT hike until I come back because service is spotty out there. So I want to wait until I get all my footage and come back and try and edit it. But if I do get service periodically, I'll post some stuff on Instagram and let people check it out. Check out the area.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you to everybody listening. I know I said this in the introduction, but everybody, please go check out my 46 Climbs fundraiser page. Great cause. That'd be awesome. Thank you everybody for listening, and have a good one.